Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Fabella, can you please read the announcements?
Absolutely. Fire evacuation plan. Please note that in the event of an emergency, the fire department has requested that legislators and all others move at least 1 block away from the county office building in order not to impede the firefighters in their duties. Cell phones. Please silence cell phones for the duration of the session. Microphones. Please be reminded to use your microphones when speaking so you are recorded for the official record. Roll call. Bartels.
Here.
Cahill.
Here.
Corcoran.
Here.
Criswell.
Here.
Erner.
Here.
Fabiano.
Here.
Gaveris.
Present.
Green. Hansett. Here. Hepner. Hewitt.
Here.
Levine.
Here.
Litz.
Here.
Lopez. Maloney.
Here.
Nolan.
Here.
Petit.
Here.
Roberts. Ronk.
Present.
Sperry. Stewart. Uchatel.
Here.
And Walter.
Here.
Everyone is present. 23 present and 0 absent.
I'll call tonight's public hearing to order. Clerk Fabella, can you please read the title?
Tonight's public hearing is being conducted to satisfy the public participation requirement for community development block grant funding for the Ulster County CARES grant program.
Do we have any speakers signed up?
There are currently no speakers signed up for this hearing.
Is there anyone present that would like to speak on this public hearing that did not sign up for this specific topic? Is there anyone in call-in studio? Okay. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Madam Chairwoman, I will make a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Do I have a second? Legislator Nolan, thank you. All those in favor of adjournment? Aye. The public hearing is now closed. Well, we have several birthdays this month. Legislative aide Breon Fries, August 8th. Happy birthday. Our fiscal analyst, Amber Feaster, August 10th. Legislator Peter Criswell, August 13th. Happy birthday, all. I'd like to take a moment to welcome Chelsea Villalba to the legislative offices. Thank you. Hopefully you've all had a chance to meet her. We're very lucky to have her. And also to take a moment to acknowledge the tenure of Nettie Tomshaw. Nettie served 12 years in the legislative offices, and I know I speak on behalf of everyone to say that we wish you well in your retirement, Nettie.
Yes, thank you very much. To everybody.
Okay, so I will now entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the previous meeting. Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of dispensing with the reading of the minutes? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Please note, as usual, there are many important correspondence on file with the clerk of the legislature. If anyone would like to see them in detail, please reach out and they will be provided. We'll now open the floor to public comment for those items that are on the agenda tonight. You'll have up to 2 minutes to speak. Please take note of the timekeeper in the back of the room. I will interrupt if you're running long, but please state your name when you come up as well for the record. And if you have anything written that you'd like to provide to the clerk, we will make it a part of this evening's minutes. Clerk Fabella?
I assume you want to do the people in the room first?
Yes, please.
Okay. There are 3 speakers signed up who are present with us, and the first speaker is Tanya Garment.
Hi, Tanya Garment. I live in the city of Kingston, 102 Wirt Street. I grew up on public transportation. I lived in New York City. I moved here in 2015 when my son was about 9, and he's 18 now. And I've gotten to know a lot of teenagers through my son. And I'm always glad to hear when they're waiting to drive. It is, we have a system that is where things are spread out and we need to get to places. And in the city of Kingston, it's a little more compact, but in the other towns and villages, it's even harder to get around without some mode of transportation. And it's not safe in many instances to bicycle around even when it's close enough. We have been seeing that it's hard to maintain a car for many people. Even people of means often have a hard time maintaining a car, paying the gas tax, and it's not. We need to start taking some cars off the road, making the roads safer, so that there are less cars on it, so that there's less congestion, so that people can get around more easily, so that teenagers can wait until they're ready to feel like they can handle such a large piece of machinery. And we need to start improving our bus system. It's a very small portion of the operating budget that comes from fares. And most of what we get is based on riders per mile. We need to start increasing the amount of people who are on the bus and encouraging people to opt into the bus. We need to make it easy for people to jump on and off the bus as many times a day as they want without having to think about having enough change in their pocket. It's such a small portion of the money. It shouldn't be considered. We need to get cars off the road and people onto the buses. Thank you.
The next speaker signed up is Suzanne Herbert.
This thing might get in the way. My name is Suzanne Herbert, and I have operated Hunger is Not an Option food pantry in the town of Esopus for 4 years. After I read the April 2022 Food Insecurity Report, I did some investigating. Currently, there are 41 regional food bank member agencies operating in Ulster County today. I found there were no member agencies in the top 3 food insecure areas of Shandaken, Shwangunk, or Wawarsing. There were 14 member agencies in Kingston and only 1 member agency in Esopus. Hunger is not an option. The report did state that there were food pantries in the top 3 food insecure areas, but none of them were associated with the regional food bank, which means none are required to follow New York State nutritional guidelines. The report pointed out that Esopus ranked 5th in Ulster County with a food insecurity rate of 16%, right behind Kingston at 19%. I didn't know that Ulster County's largest food desert is just across the Rondout Creek from Hunger is Not an Option. It's not surprising that 40% of our business each year comes from Kingston. Hunger is Not an Option is only open 4 hours a week, 2 hours on Friday and 2 hours on Saturday. Yet as small as we are, we still manage to feed more than 5,000 people every year. One of the complaints of the report was that some pantries feed people for 3 days instead of a whole week. I am perfectly capable of taking Hunger is Not an Option to the next level by feeding people for 7 days a week, but not in our current facility, not without additional equipment, and we would need a motivated sponsor. The facility we are in was not designed for a food pantry, but Hunger is Not an Option does the best it can for Ulster County. The report seemed to imply that how many days a food pantry is open is a significant food pantry comparison indicator. Of the 5 Kingston food pantries that are open 5 days a week, how many of those days can a client actually take food? Once a week, twice a month, or once a month? Hunger is Not an Option allows its clients to visit once a week. In the month of July, our clients could get food 5 times. taking a maximum of 15 days worth of food. If a food pantry is open 5 days a week but only allows clients to take food twice a month, that could mean as little as 6 days worth of food for the whole month. Food pantries are supposed to be in the business of feeding people. The extra 20-plus days a month that a food pantry is open doesn't mean very much if you can't take foods on those days.
If you can wrap up your comments, please.
I think it is clear that we do not need another food insecurity study. We need to help the people of Ulster County right now. Having enough quality healthy food to eat shouldn't be a privilege in New York State. It should be a right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
The next speaker signed up is Cheryl Snyder.
Good evening. Wow, hunger is a human right. And the fact we have one hungry person in Ulster County tonight is, to me, a social crime, and we're failing. Access to viable and free public transit is also, as far as I'm concerned, a human right. $15 an hour is not for a job. Having the county pay to demolish locations for the benefits of developers is not. But tonight, on the resolution, I'm speaking in support of passive resolution 298 as written. I am highly displeased to see it on the non-consent agenda. Of course, MON organizations collect and analyze data. And UCAT already collects some and certainly will expand that scope and granularity of the existing collections along with new software that is going to help us in that pursuit. I support using the software, but there's plenty more than routes to be studied. We cannot rely on the baselines of pre-COVID transit routines and usage. Before we gather meaningful ridership data, we must allow a few seasons or more to change the culture, to bring people back into engagement. We need to educate people, our locals and our visitors alike, about what we're doing and offer them as much as support and encouragement as possible through different kinds of outreach and engagement programs, not only to use public transit, but also more bicycles, as well as use of the rail trails. However, a 15-month window on data collection is ludicrous, terribly insufficient, not even in normal times. During COVID, there has been great shifts in the patterns of work, shopping, school, and recreation. At the same time, along with rising costs of food, housing, and everything, are transportation costs. Finding, financing, maintaining, and insuring an affordable vehicle has become almost, if not as challenging, as finding an affordable apartment to rent or a home to purchase. One more thing about data. It isn't just the data. It's who gets the data. What data? How do we secure the data? Are we paying third parties to get the data? Are they going to have more access to it than you and I?
If you could wrap up your comments, please.
What else are they going to do with the data? I beg upon you to help us feed, house, and allow people to support themselves by getting around this county to live their lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving to call-in studio, we do have a couple speakers signed up, one for this particular public comment period, and that is Clark Richters.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, because I'm having trouble hearing you, Madam Clerk, through the computer. And thank you, thank you for allowing me to do this virtually through the computer. And I would like this to really touched on how much like people place in the food pantries are really helping out our community. I'm fortunate right now, and it really that on top of the SPCA. I wish you guys would really fund the SPCA because they're doing a wonderful job out there. So anyway, I only get like a couple of minutes there, so I would just like to. I'm voting it. I would like to have you vote in favor of resolution number 428. That's with the the video conferencing with the meetings for public meetings for you'd be able to, this right here with calling in, it's not that easy and it's very hard to hear. I think it really needs to be more user friendly. And I would not suggest going with like City of Kingston's because that's even more harder to use. Just imagine a senior or an older person trying to figure this out. But it's great that you're actually coming with the, up to the technology and using it because we had to rely on that with the pandemic. Another thing is like transportation, even though we get federal funding. And I have to say, I'm going to state that I'm a member of the Friends of the Kingston Public Riders, and we have a meeting and we talk about making things, better for UCAT because the way things are going with the shortage of drivers and the bus routes are very limited because of with the pandemic and stuff like that. So it's really, you really have to plan your whole week because I would say like weekends, my experience, especially on Sundays, you're not really going to go, you have to go to your local store, like Stewart's or whatever, and spend much more money.
Sir, if you could wrap up
I'm
your
thinking
comments.
like if you did, okay, I support free buses because the county's going to get that tax. If you get out people out of their cars, you get more people on the bus with the free buses, you get people shopping, you're going to have more tax dollars in your pocket. It's a
Thank you.
no-brainer. It's a win-win for the county. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Free.
Okay, is there anyone here that did not sign up for public comment that would like to speak on a resolution or an issue before the legislature today or in committee? Yes, sir. If you could come up and just state your name when you come to the microphone.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Carmel. I am a local social studies teacher. I think that's a position that keeps me pretty in touch with what kids and our teenagers are going through. We are not out of the pandemic. You guys know as well as I do what gas prices are like, and kids are in this with us. Making a fare free system like that, the proposition or resolution 298 supports, I think would be, like Clark just said, a win-win and would be a pretty non-controversial way for you guys to support kids in this community who could also hugely benefit from mobility, which I believe is also a human right. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who did not sign up who would like to speak? Is there anyone else on call-in who would like to speak on the subjects before us this evening?
We have one caller that just called in that's being screened right now, so we're not sure.
Okay, so we'll just wait a moment.
It's for the second
For the
public
second
comment.
public hearing. Okay. I'll ask one last time. Anyone in the room like to speak on a resolution that's before us this evening? Okay. So before we move into the resolution packet, maybe wait for Leader Ronk, our legislator, Leader Hepner. I'll be asking if you have resolutions moving in or out of consent. Thank you.
Can we please move resolution number 431 from non-consent to consent?
Is it the other way around, from consent to
Sorry,
non-consent?
from consent to non-consent.
Thank you. Legislator Ronk, do you second?
Yeah, I've got no objection.
Okay, no objection.
Yeah, no
Okay.
objection.
On the resolution, on the consent and non-consent,
Moving.
moving of the resolutions
do
from
it opposite.
consent to non-consent. You threw me off. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So, and on the consent agenda and non-consent agenda as amended?
You mean on the consent agenda?
Yes, as amended. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry.
On the consent agenda, we were a short yes.
We're a short yes on the consent agenda.
Okay, so now, moving to the non-consent agenda.
The consent agenda is adopted 23-0. Moving to non-consent. The first resolution in non-consent is Resolution 289, amending the 2022-2027 Capital Improvement Program, establishing and funding capital project number 635, ARPA Parks Program, amending the 2022 Capital Fund Budget, Department of Finance.
On the resolution?
We were a short yes.
On the resolution, we're a short yes with 1 no, Legislator Litz.
The resolution is adopted 22-1. Resolution 298, establishing a policy to eliminate mandatory fares for Ulster County Area Transit UCAT service.
Leader Hepner?
Thank you. On behalf of the sponsor, I would like to offer the following amendments that can be found in the version of the resolution distributed by Chelsea. That starts on page 2. Be resolved that every year after enactment, the Director of UCAT or their designee shall deliver a report to the Clerk of the Legislature on or before September 1st summarizing the statistics and data regarding such passenger usage for the preceding one-year period to be considered by the committees of jurisdiction. And be it further, I'd like to also add the amendment to the following resolved with the budget amendments amended as before you.
Is there a second to the amendment? Thank you. On the amendment?
On the amendment, we are a short yes.
Legislator Ronk, did you want to speak on the
I
amendment?
do, thank you.
Absolutely.
So the Republican caucus has actually another amendment that we're going to be offering after this one's considered. One of the concerns I have about this amendment is the adding of the budget language. I feel like it conforms pretty well with the county executive's inflation reduction plan that he put out just a couple days ago without any consultation of the minority caucus. So for that reason, I'm going to be a no on this amendment, and I believe my colleagues on the Republican side are going to be a no on this amendment. But the language that is included in the first resolved, we were going to be in favor of. If it weren't for all the inflation reduction plan language afterwards, I'd be a yes on this amendment.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on the amendment? Okay. And on the vote, again, short yes.
Yes, we are a short yes.
For the reasons I've already spoken about, will be a short no on this amendment.
Thank you.
The amendment is adopted 16-7.
Legislator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank my colleagues on the other side for morphing our first resolved, but you guys left off the best part. On my amendment, I'm going to strike the first resolve that we're going to put in. On the second resolve, that is resolution shall expire 15 months after its enactment unless a policy is resubmitted and affirmed.
Is there a second? Legislator Litz. On the amendment.
On the amendment, I believe we are a short no.
We're a short yes.
The amendment is defeated with 7 yeses and 16 nos.
On the resolution as amended.
As the resolution as amended.
Legislator Ronk, did you want to speak?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you. So I've had a concern about this for quite some time. The southern end of the county, particularly my town of Shangam, parts of Plattekill, all of Marlborough, are unserved or underserved by the UCAT system. I've said this lots of times. There's one bus comes to my district, District 13, comes at 7:30 in the morning every, when I go out and get a cup of coffee or some gas at Stewart's on my way to work. I see the UCAT bus sitting down by Pops Memorial Park. which isn't accessible to, which isn't as accessible to the center of town as people might think. It's a bit of a walk for a lot of my residents. There's a couple of small bus stops that are poorly signed along Route 208, but it comes 7:30 in the morning, heads to Kingston, comes back at 4:30 in the afternoon. I don't know whose schedule that benefits, but I'm not sure that it's very frequently used by my constituents. Legislator Lopez's district, on the Shangam side, there's no bus. There's no opportunity for a bus there. Public transportation has been a concern of residents of the southern end of the county. Many people in my district, in Craig's district, in Legislator Corcoran's district, many members on our side of the aisle, as I'm reading them off, have doctors in Orange County. UCAT's not going to serve those people. I respect where the desire comes to eliminate fares on UCAT. I think it's a benefit to certain residents of the county and not others. And I know that I've said all this year that I'm going to be a bit of a broken record this year when it comes to equal distribution of services and monies to all around the county and boards and commissions and things of that nature. I just think that this is one more example of Ulster County ends at 299, which is what I was told when I got elected here, to begin with. And I respect where this comes from, but without a better plan for expanding public transportation throughout the whole county and not just certain areas of the county, I'm going to be a no on this.
Legislator Hepner.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to take a moment. One, I don't think there is one of us in this room that would not like to see greater improvements to the UCAT system. But I do want to take a moment because I do believe this is a very important step towards providing a better bus service to the residents of Ulster County by thanking the bill sponsor, Legislator Phil Erner, and the members of the Democratic Caucus that worked with Legislator Erner to again take what I think is a very important step in the right direction for our bus services. With that, I believe we are a short yes.
Legislator Maloney.
I happen to agree with Ken on the southern part of the county, and we have a large county. I don't think we do a good enough job. I think a lot of times the people that work for county government live in certain parts of the county. It's just, it really does seem that way. And it's more the northern part of the county, and basically New Paltz up to the city of Kingston, Saugerties, and Woodstock is where I'd say the vast majority of county officials or county employees live. In that report we get from UCAT every year, I think we should look at ridership regionally as well. I mean, are we getting very low ridership down there? We have to do something. I think the way the future is going to be, especially when we're talking about charging stations and stuff, we should probably have some substations set up in the southern part of the county, running some more routes down there. We really should do that. I don't know if a no on this and right now would get that done. We've never gotten it done anyways. With regards to the sunset, you had several legislators over here in agreement with the sunset because it guarantees a conversation, and that's what our agreement was about on this side, because we had 3 or 4 legislators that really liked the sunset, not because we didn't like what we were doing, but because it guaranteed a conversation, and that one of the conversations we're going to hopefully have is what Ken keeps pointing out, and how there's not much ridership down there or availability for ridership. And there's different reasons for that, some of which I think I just mentioned. So hopefully that's in that. I don't know how we can guarantee that we get a robust look into the southern part of the county and how few riders they are. And every year when we talk about that, I think we really should. I mean, that's something really for a special committee. This is a big deal, what Phil has put forth here. And why not have a special committee on just ridership and routes and making sure that the southern part of the county gets what they deserve? I'm all for that, and I think we did kind of get a sunset without calling it a sunset. That's all we really did was change the name, because that's all the sunset is a conversation that we have to then go and put forth. We're now guaranteeing a conversation. If that conversation led to sunsetting it, then it would be a sunset. I don't think it will, but we've just changed the name from sunset to a report that we're going to get in a couple of committees and make sure we have that conversation.
Legislator Walter.
Thank you. So about 25 years ago, I was on the Ulster County Youth Bureau board, and we were talking about transportation for youth and the bus and how it really wasn't available for the kids to use it. They couldn't use it to get to jobs. At the time, many of them wanted to work at the mall, but the way the bus worked and got back, that it just wasn't feasible. That's over 25 years ago. And it was this vicious cycle of when we spoke to UCAT, they said, well, not enough people ride it. And if not enough people ride it, what's the point of us changing the routes and doing all those things? To me, this is a really innovative way to possibly change this vicious cycle, where if not enough people ride it, why add the routes? I think this gives us the opportunity to actually increase ridership in a way that we never really considered before. And I do believe that the increase of ridership will result in an increase of routes, and that many of the problems that we've been facing in this county for now decades might actually get resolved. So I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. Thanks.
Legislator Ushitel.
Thank you. I want to take a moment to thank a group that has helped advocate for this, which I believe started out as the Friends of Kingston Transit and now is morphing into going beyond Kingston. And I believe the name is going to be the Riders of Ulster Transit Alliance, right? That's what we're going with. And this is the kind of work that I think really should expand beyond Kingston. The name is changing because the work is expanding beyond Kingston. Forcing these types of conversations is forcing us to really consider how we can improve things for the community, and so I applaud them, and we all benefit from that. And I would say to my colleagues in Southern Ulster that we definitely benefit when folks from Southern Ulster get involved in these conversations, so I look forward to that. I look forward to talking about expanding routes. I actually love it when my constituents are able to get out of my district and explore the rest of the county. If they didn't leave the district, they would never get to enjoy all of the great roads that the county pays for getting paved, because there's not a single county road in my district that the county pays for. So if you want to talk about inequities, we can talk about that too. So I really like being able to help my community get out there, get into Southern Ulster, and I really appreciate the sponsors of this and being able to pass this tonight.
Legislator Ronk for the second time.
Thanks. Legislator Ushitel, I know that there's no county roads in the city, but there is the 11.5% of the sales tax. So, things shake out in different ways. That having been said, I will say, Legislator Ushitel, you're welcome at any point to come down. I'd love to have you to the town of Shawangum, Hamilton Walkill, and show you around and give you some of the areas where I think that we get a little bit left behind in the county conversation and ways that I've been trying to fight against that. So anytime you got my number, call me, we'll talk. Just to Legislator Maloney's point, we just proposed a sunset, an actual sunset in 15 months. So I would love there to be a sunset. There were a lot of members of our caucus that if a sunset would have passed, and again, it's not a sunset, and it can't be undone. The idea of a sunset, I'm always in favor of a sunset rather than having to take an action to eliminate something, because it forces you to think about it. It forces you to make the decision to continue it rather than to take the action to discontinue it. I think that that's better for the taxpayers.
Legislator Litz.
Thanks, Ken, for stealing most of what I was going to say.
Sorry, Irby.
There's a negative connotation when you say sunset. But what that does for us is it forces us to evaluate and reevaluate what we passed. And unfortunately, I see, sitting in this legislature for as number of years that I have, whenever we pass something, it sort of gets lost in infinitum. The can gets kicked down the road. It doesn't get reevaluated. Nobody assesses whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. By putting a sunset clause on, it forces this body to review our action, evaluate its success or not success, and take further action. It forces us to look at the matter. By just passing something and kicking it down the road, I don't think is a good way to conduct business.
Legislator Erner.
Thank you. I missed the bus.
All right, legislator.
And that is something I will never, ever, ever do again, for those who grew up in the 80s and 90s like I did. So, this policy says that we, the people, Ulster County, want more affordable public transit, not because the federal or state government tells us to, but because we value it, and because we recognize that mobility justice demands it. Now, en español. Esta política dice que nosotros, el pueblo del condado de Ulster, queremos el tránsito público más proveído y rebajado, no porque el gobierno federal o estatal nos lo demanda, sino porque no los valemos. Porque reconocemos que la justicia de la movilidad nos lo demanda y los derechos en el tránsito también. Just to address a couple of concerns, I agree with all of my colleagues, all of us here who have raised concerns about the functioning of the system. And one great way that we can address that, bridging the gap between the executive and the legislature, is, I believe, through the Riders of Ulster Transit Alliance, as well as the transportation discussions that we're having at the end of Public Works. But don't take it from me, because I do help lead those. Come and see for yourself. As far as a sunset, if we're going to talk about that for this program, which is mostly going to benefit the poorest residents of our county, I'd like us equally to consider what programs we would consider a sunset on for that benefit wealthier people in our county. And other than that, I do want to thank legislators Petit for jumping in early on this, and legislators Nolan and Ushatel for coming aboard, and also legislator Roberts. I think we've had a great discussion as a result of all of this and the amendments coming forth, and I look forward to continued work that we can make this transit system equitable. It will bring numerous financial benefits in addition to those benefits in terms of healthcare savings, public works, road maintenance savings, and much more. So, thank you.
Thank you. On the resolution as amended.
We are a short yes.
We're short no.
The resolution is adopted as amended, 16-7. Resolutions 308, 309, and 310 were postponed in committee. Resolution 343, setting a public hearing on proposed local law number 9 of 2022, a local law to provide for the collection of delinquent village real property taxes, to be held on Tuesday, September 20th, 2022 at 7:20 p.m.
Legislator Gavaris.
I'd like to propose two amendments. One is presented before you, and the other one would be to change the public hearing time from 7:20 p.m. to 7:05 p.m.
Second.
On the amendment.
On the amendment, we are a short yes.
We're short yes on the amendment.
The amendment is adopted 23-0.
On the resolution as amended, Legislator Ronk.
Thanks. I'm going to be very brief. I'll be supporting this resolution tonight. I like to hear from the public, and I think that this is a good option to hear. I'd like to see if there's concerns about this in the villages themselves. Village governments, and respectfully, this is my opinion, I'm sure that others differ. Village government is, I think, becoming an obsolete level of government, an unnecessary and expensive level of government in a lot of places, in the village of Saugerties, in the town of Saugerties, the village of Ellenville, town of Wawarsing. Not as much in the village of Ellenville and town of Wawarsing, but you've seen, in the village of New Paltz and the town of New Paltz, you've seen a lot of consolidations of services where there used to be two police departments, there's one police department. Where there used to be two of another certain department, there's one. They sort of split them up between the two. But there's a reason why, those places see a higher tax bill. It's because you've got a duplicate level of government at the municipality level. One interesting thing that I saw when we got our information from the villages, the village of Saugerties sent what their arrears are, the village of Ellenville sent what their arrears are, and then the the tax collector in the village of New Paltz sent that it was like, what, $2,000 and change, and she follows up on that all the time. I think one of the concerns that I have with this resolution is you're seeing a difference in, how vigorously the villages go after delinquent property taxes. Village of New Paltz doesn't need this. They probably, I would almost say guaranteed, would not opt in to having us collect the taxes for them. I have concern about taking a municipality's inaction and then bringing it on to our staff because of inaction, not because they don't have the ability or the mechanisms to do it. But I'm interested to hear what the public has to say.
Legislator Maloney.
I don't necessarily disagree with most of that, especially about consolidations, highway departments, tax collection. I mean, in the town of Saugerties, the village owns the water, and it's a piece of property on town property, and we buy water from them. It's insanity. But and there are things that happen. The lower level you go in government, it seems the more antiquated the process. I'd like to see a lot more consolidation. That's why the state puts all those consolidation grants out. They want towns to take villages. They want the county to take responsibilities from the towns. This is something that I think was a long time coming. We treat you could say the same thing about some of these towns around the county as well, and we make them whole. This will be a deterrent. There were things that went on in Ellenville for years that I don't think would have went on if they knew that the county was going to step in and take the property. We're finding out that the county, when they do it right, actually makes money on the property foreclosures. So it's not something to necessarily worry about, and I think it'll help some of these towns that haven't been doing a great job. The Saugerties, I think, has done a pretty good job, and New Paltz has done a very good job. And I think Ellenville has gotten better, I hope. But we'll go get the properties now. But I think this is a good thing. It's a lot harder for the smaller the municipality are, the harder it is to budget, and this helps them budget. So this was a long time coming. For some reason, for years and years and years, it never happened, and then all of a sudden it's happening quite easily with everybody working together, and it was nice. I appreciate Chris getting these amendments going and making everybody comfortable. But I think this is a good thing for the two villages that are going to opt in.
Okay. On the resolution as amended?
We are a short yes.
We're short yes.
The resolution is adopted as amended, 23-0. Resolution 401, amending capital project number 598, ARPA, Community Wellness Hub, Crisis Stabilization Center renovations, City of Kingston, amending the 2022 capital fund budget, Department of Public Works.
On the resolution?
We are a short yes.
We're short yes.
The resolution is adopted, 23-0. Resolution 402, approving the execution of a contract for $158,850 entered into by the county, Pamerico Design Studio Architecture, PLLC, Department of Public Works.
On the resolution?
We are a short yes.
We're short yes.
The resolution is adopted, 23-0. Resolutions 407, 408, and 409 were postponed in committee. The next resolution is 418, authorizing the required steps for the transfer of real property owned by Ulster County and located in the town of Ulster to the Ulster County Economic Development Alliance, Department of Economic Development.
On the resolution?
Yeah.
Legislator Maloney, do you want to speak?
Yeah. Look, I got a lot of issues with our EDA. I don't think it's ever functioned well. You can go back to what this county's done with Ellenville Millions and beyond. I think we should take a long look at what the EDA has done, why we have an EDA, why we allow the executive to oversee it, not the legislature. When it comes to Tech City, I just feel like we really missed an opportunity. Half of my district was built. The neighborhoods were built by the lifeblood of this county that was IBM and Tech City. It is a mess over there. We are polishing a turd. We needed to have real conversations when we had the property parcel by parcel. We could have turned that into the lifeblood of Ulster County again. Instead, we bring another developer in with a sweetheart deal. We let Ginsburg off the hook. I mean, we let him off the hook. It's alarming, the deal that we entered into, who the players were that the county had brought in, people that formerly worked for Ginsburg to negotiate this deal on our behalf. We really had a chance to do something real with Tech City. And over the next 10 to 15 years, we're going to be driving through there and we're going to see rubble get cleaned out. By the way, that contract that we gave Goddard allows them to go get state grants for the cleaning up of that rubble. I mean, so what are we even getting out of this? What are we getting out of it? Tax dollars. We let some developer come in, they'll rent it out. They've already told us that they're going to be looking for a lot of pilots. We really missed an opportunity. We needed to spend real money. We needed to go in there parcel by parcel, building by building, figure out which ones could stay, which ones needed to go, turn it into a big-time green business hub and something that could have supported large parts of the county again. That's not what we got. That's not what we're getting. And a lot of it is because of how we do business here and this EDA and the IDA and how we do business here in Ulster County. And it works for one group. Insiders and developers, and it really doesn't produce anything innovative or real. And I think that that's what we're going to see here. So I'll be a no on this. I'll be a no on almost anything to do with this EDA until we clean it up and take control of it with the legislature. Dissolve what we have there, put the legislature to oversee it. It's very improper what's going on over there. It ends up, when you look back at our past executive, every single project that went through the EDA resulted in huge donations. It's happening again. I believe the person we have in charge of this EDA, who I'm not even sure lives in Ulster County, just made a nice $7,000 donation. I mean, it's just, when you really start looking at it, nothing good is being done here.
Legislator Ronk.
Thanks. I agree with almost everything that Legislator Maloney just said about the EDA, and quite frankly, the only two people I really trust on the EDA sit next to each other in these rows here. So I would be definitely in favor of a push by this legislature to take over the EDA or to create our own entity to start transferring some of these parcels to as we try to market them. I remember it may have been last year, it may have been the year before, but I forget exactly when. I think it was almost 12, 13, 14 months ago. We were asked for a large sum of money to do work on a Tech City parcel. The legislature, I made an amendment, and the legislature, we all worked together to reduce the amount of money that we were spending on the property prior to sale, and said, come back when you have a better plan on what you're going to be doing with the property. Come back when you have a better information on why you need this money. And they didn't come back, and they transferred the property. So, the legislature together saved the taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that was something that the EDA was just saying was essential in order to be able to move forward with a sale, and then they moved forward with a sale without that essential money. So, I'm going to be supporting this because of my faith and confidence in Legislator Cahill and Litz. But I agree with everything that Legislator Maloney said. We need to really, start to take back some of that authority.
On the resolution?
We are a short yes with one no, Legislator Maloney.
We're short yes.
The resolution is adopted 22-1. The next resolution is a bond resolution authorizing the preliminary site preparatory expense for the installation of electric vehicle charging stations in and for the County of Ulster, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $317,807, and authorizing the issuance of $317,807 bonds of said county to pay the cost thereof. Bartels.
Yes.
Cahill.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Criswell.
Yes.
Erner.
I'm going to be yes on this. I have concerns that we may be getting the electricity for this from Central Hudson. Looking for ways for us as a county to hold them accountable. That we depend on the state for quite a lot of accountability around utilities, and if we can divest locally from Central Hudson, considering their massive profits and their irresponsible billing and all the other things that we've heard about in numerous hearings around the county, in recent months after the ice storm especially, then I'll be all for any of those things. But on the other hand, I do want to support this particular initiative, and we can deal with the rest hopefully later. So, yes.
Fabiano.
Yes.
Goveris.
Yes.
Green. Hansett.
Yes.
Hepner.
Yes.
Hewitt.
Yes.
Levine.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Lopez. Maloney.
I'll be a statement no, just like I keep talking about with these bonds, until we have that resolution, that policy that makes sure we're not losing money on bonding. We have lost a lot of money. We have sitting money. In fact, we're way over our fund balance. I'm not saying that this would be one, but I think I'm going to be putting in a resolution next month that at least in every bond resolution puts in what the cost would be, what the difference is between purchasing outright with sitting money or bonding. And when it's financially beneficial, we probably shouldn't be bonding, or we should be bonding. But we need to know, and we do know we've been losing money. There are certain times we shouldn't be, and we keep talking about doing something, but I just don't see anything being done, so I'm going to have to put something in myself. So I'm going to be a statement no, because through the years we have lost a lot of money with this, with bonding and everything. A vehicle, really, but so that's all.
Nolan.
Yes, I very enthusiastically support this bond for this purpose, and I want to let communities around the county know that there's possibility for additional funding for additional charging stations. I've already been approached by people in Shandaken, in my district, and want to work with them to continue to build out an electric vehicle charging infrastructure that is a draw for a big emerging part of recreational tourism that is around electric vehicle tourism. And the more we have a structure that goes throughout the county, the more people from New York City and other places come here knowing they can spend their whole vacation and not have issues with charging a vehicle. It's also really great for the environment. Yes.
Petite.
Thank you. I was a yes on the resolution for this project. I am a no on the bonding for the reasons stated previously. And municipalities that have environmentally challenged locations under this grant are 100% funded. So make sure you check with NYSERDA on that.
Roberts.
I'll be a yes.
Ronk. Sperry.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Uschitel.
Yes.
And Walter.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted 20-3. The next resolution is Resolution 422, supporting a grant application to the Federal Transit Administration to apply, accept, and administer 5307 funds transferred from the Rural Transportation Assistance Program, Section 5311B3, for operating assistance, and authorizing the Ulster County Executive to execute any required applications or agreements to accept funding. Ulster County and Area Transit, UCAT.
On the resolution.
We are a short yes.
We're a short yes with one no. Legislator Ronk.
The resolution is adopted 22-1. The last resolution on the agenda tonight is Resolution 431, authorizing the conveyance of county-owned property to the original owner, Department of Finance.
Legislator Maloney, did you have your hand raised?
Yes. You know, I'm going to be a no with a lot of things that have to do with our finance department going forward, especially when it comes to the head of finance, the commissioner there, and anything that involves a lot of discretion. We have major issues with our tax foreclosure and auction process. We've heard from constituents reaching out with alarming complaints. Unchecked discretion and a lack of oversight are alarming. We haven't seen the Commissioner of Finance in a Ways and Means meeting as very often after there was a storm out over 701 Grand Avenue, which still we've not gotten to the bottom of or foreclosed upon, $10 million. And I just can't understand how we can continue to put faith. This resolution right here puts a lot of faith and gives a lot of discretion to that Commissioner of Finance. Holding in my hands 2 different lawsuits that have just been filed by female employees towards that Commissioner of Finance. We've got discrimination, hostile work environment, harassment, retaliation. The next one that I saw in our litigation report, retaliation, complaints about being subjected to a hostile work environment, constructively terminated without just cause. These are high-ranking.
Legislator
hold on a second.
Maloney.
No.
Legislator Maloney, I have the floor. In terms of speaking about active litigation, I've been asked if you want to go into executive session to speak about active litigation, we can go into
I'm
executive
just reading.
session.
Okay, I won't say anything else about it. I'm just acknowledging that we have 2 lawsuits, and I'm reading off of the clerk's website. This is public knowledge. I got this off Nina's website. I'm
Okay.
not
If you
talking
would
about
like to
anything
discuss
specific.
active litigation, I'd request a motion to go into executive session.
I won't
Otherwise,
mention the lawsuits that we have that have a lot to do with our Commissioner of Finance again in this spiel right here. I will mention a third female employee that I've spoken to, one that was offered a job from another department. She was told, there's evidence of this too that many of us know about. She was told that if she didn't take the job, the raise that was in the budget by her boss wouldn't be given. But if she took the job under the Commissioner of Finance, he would give her that money. Now, wait a minute.
I feel like we're getting far afield, Legislator
No,
Maloney.
because we're voting on something right now that gives a hell of a lot of discretion to this individual that I have no faith in, that I can't be a yes on because of this. I'm going to finish. So, when not taken, when that job wasn't taken, written out of the budget, she was also told that she couldn't have the full pay if she took the job. We hired a male after that, gave him the full pay even though he was lesser qualified.
Again,
One last thing, when she was offered a job by our now county executive, that Commissioner of Finance got involved and cost that job. She was told by the executive, I didn't know about what happened between you and the Commissioner of Finance. I can't give you this job. How many more women in this county are going to be treated in a way and run out of the county? We also did a taxpayer-funded investigation into this and other things surrounding that we haven't been given.
Legislator Maloney.
When are we going to get that? I've sent out emails looking for this. We deserve that investigation. Hold on. How can we vote on these things that give this man such discretion with all these questions around him, all this abuse and mistreatment possible? 2 active lawsuits? What are we doing? $10 million at 701 Grand Avenue and more. Where is this tax fund investigation? Why weren't we told about it, and why haven't I been given it? The county attorney won't even respond. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm the only one that cares about $10 million lost, about how women
Legislator
are being treated in this
Maloney,
county.
your time is up.
It's disgusting.
Legislator Nolan, are you raising your hand to speak?
Yes, please. I think that we need to discuss personnel matters in a forum in which that will protect all the people that might be involved. And I think when we have someone reporting on something heard from somebody who we get removed from a direct comment to us. So I would welcome the conversations. I would welcome anyone who has a grievance to bring it to the appropriate bodies. And I think that the matter at hand in this resolution is one that is appropriately handled by this department. So I think that we're perfectly focused on the resolution, and if there are these concerns that someone is passionate about, I'm happy to have them brought forward in a way that can be addressed in a rational manner that preserves the integrity of all the parties and the privacy of parties who apparently haven't come forward in a forum to make these concerns on their own. So I'm very troubled to have that conversation forced upon us, and I appreciate our returning our focus to the resolution.
On the resolution, Legislator Petit, did you want to speak?
Quickly, so we can vote on the resolution. Just as a matter of practice, we did used to receive the lawsuits, and they were listed on our agenda, and they're no longer being listed. I would like to ask that they be put back on there.
They are included in the communications, Legislator Petit, and
We don't get them.
They're included in the communications, and I'll allow that to be a request to the clerk for you to get a copy, absolutely. On the resolution.
We are a short yes with 1 no. Legislator Maloney.
We're a short yes.
Thank you.
The resolution is adopted 22-1.
And that was the last of the resolution. So we'll now move into the public comment period, which is open to subjects that were not on the agenda today. Do we have anyone signed up to speak?
We do. We have 9 speakers signed up in person, and we also have a speaker on call-in studio.
Great. So we'll start with in person. Again, you'll have 2 minutes to speak. Please be mindful of the timekeeper in the back of the room. And as you approach your 30 seconds, please start thinking about wrapping up your comments. If you have any written comments you'd like to provide the clerk, they will be included in the record.
The first speaker signed up is Gwendolyn Tibbles.
That's fine.
Joy Bono.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for giving the citizens a right to talk and to be heard. I'm going to start with a request for 3 minutes for those that are in my party of citizens who are presenting information from the New York Citizens Audit. It was my mistake. I think I thought that it was 3 minutes. So we do have a prepared presentation, and if we do go to 2 minutes, then we'll just pass it on to more people to read, which would not be as fluid and may actually take more time. So I'm just going to say that as an appeal, if possible. So hello, legislators. I have a question for you. How much is your vote worth? I spoke to a friend who recently got her citizenship, which cost her $800 and multiple trips to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services over the course of a year. But that's just in money and time. Think about what your right and privilege affords you. It affords you a say in your government, freedom to live and be governed by your principles, and elect whom you choose. Our vote is essential to a free society, but I want to talk to you about how that right has been ripped away from the citizens of Ulster County. We have a group of presenters tonight from Ulster Citizens for Election Integrity who are presenting to you data that has been researched and compiled by New York Citizens Audit and subsequently submitted to the Attorney General and New York State Board of Elections commissioners on May 9th and June 27th without response. We would like to review this petition in the hopes that it will shock you as it did us, that you will therefore investigate and ask questions as we have, and therefore support efforts to bring this information to light and hold all parties accountable for the 2020 election and those going forward. For more information, please visit auditny.com. The petition has already been given to the clerk and will be emailed to each legislator tonight, along with a suggested resolution for the legislature to adopt or adapt as needed. We are counting on you to hear the voices of your constituents.
Thank you.
Diana Cunningham.
This petition is for the redress of violations of the following provisions of the New York State election law. The agencies and individuals listed above are the authorities having jurisdiction for the following election law violations. Number 1, 17-126, misconduct of election officers. 2, 17-136, false returns, unlawful acts respecting returns. 3, 17-152, conspiracy to promote or prevent election. 17-104, false registration. 17-132, illegal voting. 17-160, procuring fraudulent documents in order to vote. 17-170, destroying or delaying election returns. 17-150, duress and intimidation of voters. 17-168, crimes against the elective franchise not otherwise provided for. 17-124, failure to deliver official ballots, and 17-154, pernicious political activities. The factual evidence in support of this petition for redress includes the following. 1, the official vote count for the 2020 general election certified by the Secretary of State, 8,690,614, does not match the number of voters who voted in the New York State voter rolls, 8,418,179, nor does it match the number of votes from the New York State precincts, 8,624,153, with a minimum discrepancy of 272,435 votes, contrary to election laws 17-126 and 17-136. 2. The violations resulted in many races being certified where the discrepancies exceeded the margin of victory, contrary to election laws 17-126, 17-136, and 17-152. See Exhibit B. Thank you.
Nasika Udo.
The New York State Board of Elections in 2021, pursuant to a formal request, provided a copy to the voter rolls. Analysis by our team, led by a PhD, found 1,899,730 state registrations in 9 counties, including Bronx, Dutchess, Erie, Kings, Nassau, New York, Onondaga, Queens, and Richmond, that are missing from the voter rolls maintained by the corresponding County Board of Elections, contrary to election laws 17-126, 17-136, and 17-152. See Exhibit C. Voter rolls maintained by the New York City Board of Elections, as well as Dutchess and Onondaga counties, show 195,271 votes cast in the 2020 general election that are not recorded in the New York State Board of Elections voter rolls, contrary to election laws 17-104, 17-126, 17-132, 17-136, 17-152, 17-160, 17-170, and 17-124. See Exhibit D. Voter rolls maintained by the New York State Board of Elections show 28,369 votes cast in the 2020 general election in Erie and Nassau counties that are not recorded in the voter rolls maintained by the corresponding county, contrary to election laws 17-104, 17-126, 17-132, 17-136, 17-152, 17-160, 17-170, and 17-124. See Exhibit E. Thank you.
Suzanne Van Wagenen.
New York Election Law, Chapter 17, Article 5, Title 5, Section 500, Paragraph 2, clearly states each voter shall be issued a registration serial number, which shall be different for each voter. The data provided by New York State voter rolls, see number 1 above, clearly shows 608,757 unique State Board of Elections identification numbers assigned to 299,920 unique voters. 65,759 of these voter identification numbers attached to 32,417 voters are not only an exact match with first name, last name, and date of birth, but also address. These facts are contrary to the election law stated in Exhibit F. At least 10,458 of these registrants, see 6 above, voted, allowing 5,229 unique voters to exceed 1 vote per person in the New York State 2020 general election, contrary to election laws 17-104, 17-126, 17-132, and 17-160, and that is Exhibit G. Voter rolls maintained by the New York State Board of Elections contain at least 1,488,229 purged voters with no purge date, of which at least 31,180 voted in the 2020 New York State general election, contrary to election law 17-104 and 17-132 and/or 17-136, and that is Exhibit H. 6 New York State counties had in excess of 100% voter registration during the 2020 general election: Allegheny, Erie, Hamilton, Nassau, Westchester, and Wyoming. And 51 additional counties had over-registration in certain age categories, resulting in at least 625,359 excess registrations, contrary to Election Law 17-104, and that is Exhibit 1. 27,638
If you can
voters.
start to wrap up your comments.
I have the last. Okay. 27,638 voters registered after the deadline of October 9th, 2020, yet voted in the New York State 2020 general election, contrary to Election Law 17-132, and that is Exhibit J. Thank you.
This one's a little difficult. Sharnikia Piniset?
She works on this very hard.
I work hard. I think it's offensive to say people's names incorrectly. So.
There were at least 620,610 blanks added or subtracted after the certification of the New York State 2020 general election, contrary to elections laws 17-126, 17-136, and 17-170, Exhibit K. New York State voter rolls contained at least 19,706 deceased voters, of which 1,284 voted in the New York State 2020 general election, and 10,289 of which were born on January 1st, 1850, contrary to election law 17-104, 17-132, and 17-136, and 17-150, see Exhibit L. New York State 2020 general election contained in excess of 88,241 irregular votes, contrary to election laws 17-126, 17-136, see Exhibit M. Analysis of the voter turnout in New York State 2020 general election using the Dr. Frank age turnout method reveals a 6-factor polynomial constant can predict the voter turnout by age with an average of 99.3 degree of accuracy. This demonstrates that the turnout records are not organic, contrary to election laws 17-126 and 17-168, see Exhibit N. The state and at least 14 counties have denied multiple FOIA requests for election records from the 2020 New York State general election, contrary to election law 17-150. The state and one or more counties have admitted to destroying various election records for the 2020 New York State general election in violation of the law, contrary to election law 17-152. See Exhibit O. According to a sworn statement, a box of official New York State 2020 general election ballots was found unsealed and without chain of custody in an apartment building on about November 8, 2020, contrary to election laws 17-124, 17-126, 17-152, 17-170, see Exhibit P.
Colleen Cierna.
(18) 44 candidates for the New York State Legislature in New York City and Westchester County, all representing the Democratic Party, were unopposed by the Republican Party, contrary to election laws 17-126, 17-152, 17-154, and 17-168. See Exhibit Q. I assert this fact alone and/or in combination with any of the other facts presented herein proves beyond a reasonable doubt that the 2020 general election was defective and must be decertified. Ulster County facts. 1. Ulster County voter rolls maintained by the New York State Board of Elections demonstrate a 634 voter discrepancy exists between the Ulster County precinct vote tabulation count and the New York State Board of Elections, and a 740 voter discrepancy exists between the Ulster County precinct vote tabulation count and the New York Secretary of State certified results. Additionally, a 106 vote discrepancy exists between the New York State Board of Elections and the Secretary of State regarding Ulster County. 2. Ulster County voter rolls maintained by the New York State Board of Elections demonstrate that there are 4,062 duplicate SBOEID numbers assigned, 70 of which voted. Ulster County voter rolls maintained by the New York State Board of Elections demonstrate that 91% of the voting age population of Ulster County is registered to vote. The following age groups from 18 to 100 have in excess of 95% registration: 31, 32, 51, 63 to 66, 68, 70, 73, 78, 80, 94, and 98. The following age groups from 18 to 100 have in excess of 100% registration: 30, 103%, 69, 102%, 74, 109%, 97, 108%, 99, 122%, and 100, 150%.
Anita Estes.
Hello, my name is Anita Estes. Ulster County voter rolls maintained by the New York State Board of Elections demonstrated that 59 people voted without a resident address in their voter roll. 5. Ulster County voter rolls maintained by the New York State Board of Elections demonstrate that one person voted without a county address. 6. Ulster County voter rolls maintained by the New York State Board of Elections demonstrate that 1,217 people registered after the cutoff date and voted on Election Day. 7. Ulster County voter rolls maintained by the New York State Board of Election demonstrate that at least 2 people voted who were purged before November 3rd, 2020. 8. Ulster County voter rolls maintained by the New York State Board of Elections demonstrate that at least one person voted who was deceased. 9. Ulster County voter rolls maintained by the New York State Board of Elections demonstrate that at least 3 people voted who were older than the oldest living resident of the United States. 10. Ulster County voter rolls maintained by the New York State Board of Elections demonstrate that 336 people voted from nursing homes, 43 people voted from a single residential home, 113 people voted from a single commercial address, and 52 people voted from a single address community. Petitioners claim that these votes may have deprived petitioners of equal protection under the law. 11. The total number of irregular votes in Ulster County, as detailed above, is 2,637 votes. 12. Analysis of the voter turnout in Ulster County using the Dr. Frank age turnout method reveals a 6-factor polynomial constant can predict the voter turnout by age with a 99.9% degree of accuracy. This demonstrates that the turnout records are not organic. I assert this fact alone and/or combination with any of the other facts presented herein proves beyond a reasonable doubt that the 2020 general election was defective and must be decertified in Ulster County. Thank you.
Gina Liberti.
Those petitioned are hereby requested to provide a meaningful response by refuting each of said facts or complying with the relief specified in paragraphs 1, 2, and 3 below. Number 1, decertify the New York State 2020 general election. Number 2, conduct a full forensic audit of the November 3rd, 2020 New York State general election for a complete investigation of the efforts made to subvert the will of the people. And 3, enforce criminal and financial penalties and enforcement for those officials involved. Should the recipients hereby petitioned not publicly respond to the petition within 30 days of service by granting the release requested, such a violation of their constitutional duty would add credence to the belief held by petitioner that government that first violates the rule of law and then fails to honor its obligation to respond to a petition for redress of the violation is unrecognizable. That is, it is not the government the people instituted. Consequently, petitioner questions why he or she should continue to fund a government that has stepped outside the boundaries drawn around its power by the terms of the state constitution and laws pursuant thereto. Upon failure to respond accordingly, or provide the remedies requested within 30 days, the undersigned is faced with a government that is not duly elected. As a means of enforcement of our rights, New York State sovereign citizens reserve the right and are entitled to withhold remittances to New York State until a redress of these grievances are performed by the authorities having jurisdiction. Clearly, a huge amount of information has been presented this evening, and listening to all the numbers is not just daunting, but difficult to fully appreciate unless they are in front of you. So I hope you will take the time to read the information that is forthcoming and allow yourselves to recognize the fact that malfeasance has occurred. The United States of America is a grand experiment in a government system that promotes and supports civil liberties to all its citizens. In order for this grand experiment to work, we must all be vigilant. We must all be sure that the Constitution is upheld. And since the legislature has been chosen through election to represent the people to support their civil liberties as laid down by the Constitution, it doesn't matter what party you belong to. We call upon you to fulfill your responsibility to do your due diligence. And while this may sound a bit redundant, this is about upholding your oath of office and making sure that elections are executed properly and executed honestly. Thank you.
If we can hold the applause, please, have decorum in the chambers.
Gwendolyn Tibbles.
We've just heard quite a few concerned citizens speak very sincerely and perhaps even bore you with a lot of factual information. Are you asking yourselves why? Why would they bother? Why not just move on? Many of us believe the essence of the answer to the question why can be found in some very famous and beautiful words of President Ronald Reagan. And I quote, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Or, one day, we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. Thank you.
No applause, please, in the chambers. Do we have anyone signed up on call-in studio?
We do. We have one speaker signed up on call-in studio, and that is Jeannie Edwards.
Hi, my name is Jeannie Edwards. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. I'm calling to just thank all the legislators for the great work that I'm hearing getting done in our county. It's really fabulous that we're moving forward in such a good way. I'm just sowing a seed tonight. I'm calling about our 911 building and what's going on. We just had a tornado that came through Kingston. What was really affected was Ward 3 on Pearl Street, Lafayette, and Ward 1 and Ward 4. There was phone calls made to the 911 dispatchers that they couldn't get. So I'm just sowing a seed of thinking about our technology. Is it underground, a bigger place? Kingston has the greatest services, any place that I've ever seen. We have Kingston Fire Department, Police Department, all kinds of agencies, our medical staff, and just to have a shortcoming like this after what we're going to have more of because of our climate of today, that I think we need to start looking at some of them things. After talking with my legislator, you should tell that I just have to thank him for listening to all these complaints and stuff that's been going on. So I'm just sowing a seed tonight, and I hope it grows, that our 911 building and dispatchers get all the equipment and can grow a little larger since our city is growing. Our county is growing, and we're going in such a great direction. We can't forget about our emergency services. So I thank you very much. I thank all of you for listening. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Edwards. Thank you for your patience. Is there anyone else signed up to speak? Is there anyone else that wants to speak? Anyone else in the call-in studio? Okay. At this point, we'll move to memorials, and I'd like to ask Legislator Petit to please read tonight's memorials.
Thank you. This August 16th, 2022 meeting is adjourned in the memory of Michelin V. Porto, New Paltz, Marion Whitaker, Kingston, Donald Whitaker, Kingston, Jonathan Sellers, New Paltz, James J. Ellsworth, Jr., known as Jimmy, Port Ewan, George Bain, Hudson, Elizabeth Adele Peterson, Highland, Louis S. Fiscaldi, Highland, Carlos Roberto Linares, New Paltz, Viola Marie Morielli, Rosendale, Miguel A. Santiago, Kingston, Patricia A. Wally, Pine Hill, Thomas W. Riley, Port Ewan, Ronnie J. Shapiro, Woodstock, Linda Johnson, Highland, Martin Edward Zimmerman, Highland, Bruce Neal Finch, Glen Falls, New York, Dorothy I. Murray, Saugerties, and Haley Hasbrook, age 14, Kingston, New York.
Legislator Ronk.
Thanks. First, I just want to express, condolences on the family of George Bain. I didn't know that. That's really sad. I know that he spent a lot of time coming here advocating for the things that he believed in. Spent a lot of late evenings here with him and many others. And I'd like to add the name of Scott Snyder of Walden. Scott was not a resident of the county, but he volunteered with both the Walk Hill Fire Department and Walk Hill Volunteer Ambulance Corps.
Legislator Ushitel?
Yes, I'd like to speak in memory of Dorothy Murray of Saugerties. I didn't know her personally, but I think you can learn a lot from about someone based on the family that they leave behind. She's the mother of Martin Dunkley and the mother-in-law of Tamika Dunkley, who founded Season Gives. And as Dorothy served as the matriarch of that family in their home, they've built something as a family there that gives to the full community, not just in Saugerties, but all over here. And I know that her loss is felt very, very deeply.
Legislator Hewitt?
Thank you. I'd like to echo what Legislator Ushitel said. Dorothy Murray was known as Mama Blossom, and I had the opportunity to cook with her, and she's the epitome of culture and passing her culture along to her children. And my colleague Grishanda was here earlier. That's her grandmother. So we're all going to miss Mama Blossom. Thank you.
Legislator Criswell?
Yeah, I just want to speak to the memory of Miguel Santiago, who was the father of a dear friend of mine, Jen, and he was just a hardworking, salt-of-the-earth guy who loved his family, loved his children, loved his grandchildren, always had time, and he had time for friends. He came over and helped me with a carpentry project one time. Just a great guy, and he's going to be missed.
Legislator Nolan?
Yes, I'd like to add the name of Lawrence Larry Herzog, who lived in Rhinebeck, but whose wife, Melinda Herzog, is a leader of the Healthy Communities Project here through Cornell Cooperative. And Larry is one of the founding partners for Stage 1 Automotive in Lake Katrine, and somebody I've known for 30 years. Really stalwart supporter of the community, and I wanted to add his name here.
Legislator Walter?
Thanks. It wasn't that long ago I was talking about a friend of several of ours whose son died of an overdose, who was a teenager. And Haley is a 14-year-old who died of an overdose in our county. And I appreciate the work that we're doing, the sheriff with Oracle and the crisis stabilization and the mental health in schools. This is the youngest kid in a circle that I was aware of, and I just want to make sure we pay attention to this, because this is something that's it's an illness in our county that, it's an illness across the country, but it's an illness in our county that we really have to start changing really soon before more parents lose their children.
Legislator Cahill?
Thank you. I just want to memorialize a childhood friend named Sean Schick. His family was very prominent in Kingston for many, many years. Sean went through all Kingston schools and moved away, and he was a long-haul trucker. He retired about a year ago, and he got sick and died within a year of retirement. He was 64 years old. Salt-to-the-earth guy, and he left behind a train of friends that will go on forever. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move to adjournment, I do want to take a moment to recognize Deputy Briggs, who has taken care of us for so long. Tonight's going to be his last meeting. Deputy Briggs is moving, and I want to thank you on behalf of the legislature, tell you that we're grateful, and you will be greatly missed. And I know Legislator Ronk wanted to say something as well.
I just want to say thanks. Thanks for always being here. Thanks for, keeping us safe, but also, poking your nose in a little bit where it belongs, and, mentioning things to me over the years about different resolutions, different organizations that really needed to be looked at. So, I consider you a great friend, and I'll miss you, but enjoy your retirement.
Thank you. Be careful what you wish for. Right, the next regular meeting of the Ulster County Legislature will be held on September 20th, 2022 at 7 p.m. here at 244 Fair Street, 6th floor, Ulster County. Resolution deadline is Friday, August 26th at 12 noon. It's that time, legislator. Let's.
Madam Chairwoman, I will make a motion for adjournment.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor of adjournment? Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.